for all to see. You are light, you are light. When the darkness closes in, you are hope, you are hope. You have covered all my sin. You are peace, you are peace. When my fear is crippling, you are true, you are true. Even in my wandering, you are joy, you are joy. You're the reason that I sing. You are life, you are life. In you death has lost its sting. And oh, I'm running to your arms, I'm running to your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace, the light of the world forever reign. You are more than my words will ever say. You are Lord, you are Lord. All creation will proclaim. You are here, you are here. In your presence I'm made whole. You are God, you are God. Of all else I'm letting go. And oh, I'm running to your arms, I'm running to your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace, the light of the world forever reign. And I'm running to your arms, I'm running to your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace, the light of the world forever. My heart will sing no other name. Jesus, Jesus. My heart will sing, come on, no other name. Jesus, Jesus. My heart will sing no other name. Jesus, Jesus. My heart will sing no other name. Jesus, Jesus. And now I'm running to your arms, I'm running to your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace, the light of the world forever reign. I'm running to your arms, I'm running to your
baptize us. Come baptize us. In all-consuming fire. In your heart's desire. In living flame of love. Come baptize us. Come baptize us. In all-consuming fire. In your heart's desire. In living flame of love. Come baptize us. Come baptize us. In all-consuming fire. In your heart's desire. In living flame of love. Come baptize us. Come baptize us. For more in love with you. Let us for more in love with you. Let us for more in love with you. Let us for more in love
Come on,
with
sing that again. Let
you.
us.
Let us for more in love with you. 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 We want to know how high, how deep, how wide it is. Love, love, love. Want to know how high, how deep, how wide it is. Love, love, love. Know how high, how deep, how wide it is. Love, love, love. Want to know how high, how deep, how wide it is. Love, love, love. Let us for more. Let us for more in love with
Come on, sing that again.
Let us for more in love with you. Let us for more in love with you. God, let that be the cry of our hearts today, that we'll just fall deeper and deeper in love with you, Lord. We thank you that you have such a love for us, God. Be with us as we go throughout today. Amen.
Okay, Mr. Havens is going to pull up. He's going to pull up some more pictures to show you guys. This is a guy named Joydev. He is one of the kids who, like, up till like 2 years ago was a railway kid. And then you can go to the next one, Mr. Havens. There's some more of the kids. That's who I was with most of this summer. He's the one that, like, all the girls like whenever they come from the teams. Like, we all know what I'm talking about, right? Like the little kids who is like everyone's favorite. He's one of those. He has a Muslim name. I can't remember what it is, but he's really cool. Anyways, I wanted to show you guys some more pictures because all of these kids that you see up here used to be like the kids at the train station. Like, we literally got those kids from that train station. So the kids that you see with who, you know, don't even really look like kids, like if you look in their eyes, you know, I don't even know what they look like. That's kind of what they turn into. It was kids like that who, yeah, they might not have families, or they don't, you know, they've had horrible situations happen to them, but they're in a safe place now. And that's kind of what our heart is to do, is to give these kids a safe place and allow the gospel to begin to transform their life. I think a lot of times what we do whenever we go on trips like this is we're like, oh, they don't have anything and they're so happy and they just love the Lord so much no matter what. And like they struggle, they're kids, right? So like I was around them for like a month, and so every once in a while like they would do something that maybe like annoyed me or something like that. That just happens, that's life. But the thing is like their hearts have been changed by the gospel. Not only their hearts, but like the way they look. There's something that happens to you whenever the gospel begins to penetrate your life, and you see this not only spiritual transformation, but this physical transformation as well. And nowhere did I see that more than in India. You can go to some more slides. That guy's name is Kaka. He had like fetal alcohol syndrome. That happens a lot, especially in Hindu temples. Priests, they drink and they will give alcohol to kids. I don't know if y'all have ever seen Slumdog Millionaire, but like they will intentionally wound kids, so they'll be better beggars, and priests will do that too. And once again, that's such a contrast to what we as believers are called to do, right? But even people within this religious system in India, they're so devoid of right and wrong that they'll do that to little kids. But he's really, really cool. Okay, you can go to the next slide. But they're just playing around there. But basically what Jordan and I did was we were in this place for like 3 weeks. And Jordan, I don't know if y'all know, is writing a book. I think I might have told my classes this. And he's just kind of writing a book about our ministry and what we're doing. But what I kind of got to do is while Jordan was interviewing people, while they were talking to people, while he was like in these meetings and stuff, I just got to kind of hang around and observe what was happening. And one thing that was really, really good for me in my own heart and my own life was I got to be really quiet for a long time. I was really, I kind of go a million miles an hour whenever I'm in Lubbock. I kind of get really distracted. I always have noise. I'm always like on Twitter or always texting people or whatever else. And basically what happened was whenever I got to this place, I couldn't do that anymore. I didn't have internet for like 3 weeks, which is crazy. It destroyed me. Jordan would make fun of me all the time because, I'd be like, oh man, I wonder what's happening in the world and stuff like that. But what happened is whenever I began to slow my life down a little bit, the Lord could speak to me in a lot more real way than I let him a lot of times hear. And I want to just encourage you guys because what I kind of take away from stuff like this, and I think I've told some of you this before, but India really, really, there's a priest, by the way. It's pretty crazy. A lot of times the priests will have beards and stuff like that. Also, if they have like painted red dots, I don't understand all the red dot stuff. My mom probably does better than I do. But if they have smeared red dots, that means they went to the temple that day. But the thing I learned most, guys, is we will go away to places, and we'll go to camp, or we'll go to high school retreat, or whatever, and we're like, man, I felt so much better back then. I felt like, I was where I was supposed to be. I felt like things were way easier, and I felt so much more close to the Lord. I felt like that in India too, and I've been thinking about that a lot since I've come back and struggled kind of to readjust back to being home and to walking with the Lord like I was in India. And kind of what I've come up with what I think the Lord has revealed to me is that the reason why our hearts get stirred, the reason why we feel good at camp, the reason why we feel good on mission trips is because we're doing what the Lord would have us do every day of our lives. Like somehow it's easier though whenever we're at places like this. I think it's because we see the hurt around us. It's naked. It's easy to see, right? We look at things and we're like, oh, they're broken. Well, of course, it's a third world country. But what we don't realize, guys, is that just because, our lives don't look like that. There's my buddy Taylor. Just because our lives, just because what we see doesn't look like this extreme poverty, and we don't see little kids at train stations, and we don't see, priests giving kids alcohol whenever they're 1 year old. Just because we don't see that doesn't mean that the world we live in is any less broken here than it is in India. We just dress it up. Do you guys understand that? Sin is sin. Poverty is poverty. Depravity is depravity. And just because you don't have material poverty doesn't mean you don't have intense, horrible spiritual poverty. Do you guys understand that? I mean, and so what I begin to see is like, here it's easy to see that stuff. And the cool thing is the gospel is so vibrant there because the dark is so dark. But the good thing about the dark being so dark is it allows the light to shine through. What we have to do constantly is pray that the Lord will give us the eyes to see that darkness and that hurting, not only in people where it's really easy to see. You can stop right here. I want to talk about this in a little bit. We have to see that in everybody. Do you guys understand that? Like, yeah, it's really easy to look at a kid who's an orphan or to look at a person who's lived in ignorance and this Hindu caste system for 40 or 50 years, even if he's not poor or whatever else, and be like, oh, yeah, that's a lost person. But how much more we should be doing the same thing with the people around us today. That's really, really hard because we have all these cultural blind spots. India was so foreign to me as a culture that it was kind of like, oh, yeah, well, that's really wrong, you know? Oh, well, that's really not right. Oh, well, I can't believe they do that. Oh, well, yeah, of course this is bad. And all that stuff is wrong, and it is all a sin. It's way more easy to see there. But we have that stuff in our culture, too. And we have that stuff in our lives as well. But we're just a lot more blind to it. I know I certainly am. So what I wanted to kind of just encourage you guys, though, is like whenever you go on mission trips, whenever you do feel close to the Lord, ask yourself, what am I doing differently that is making me feel close to the Lord right now? What am I doing differently? So for me, I wasn't near as hooked up into just the world, into technology, into what was going on. I wasn't near as in a hurry all the time. I wasn't maybe talking to the same people I talked to back home. I wasn't maybe getting frustrated or mad about the same things. Like, I'll get mad at them in Starbucks and have to wait like 3 minutes. Like, really, right? Am I the only one who does that whenever we go to places? Yeah, I am. Okay. Or like I'll get frustrated whenever like my day doesn't go exactly how I want it to in terms of my schedule. And that like starts to do things in my heart, and it makes it easier for me to mess up in other areas. And so what I want to encourage you guys is that whenever you are doing the right things, whenever you are on mission trips, kind of figure out what it is that you're doing that's making you feel close to the Lord, and then keep doing those things whenever you get back. Because we all know what we should be doing, right? We all know that whenever our life looks a certain way, that it's better. We all know that we all know what stirs our heart for the Lord, but it is so much harder for us to make those decisions here. I know it is. I struggle with it all the time, and your teachers do too. But what I just encourage you guys to do, what I'm trying to do since I've been back, is be like, okay, this looks like this in my life. Okay, whenever I'm doing this, I don't feel as close to the Lord. Whenever I'm doing this, I don't feel as close to the Lord. This makes me feel farther away from the Lord, and I'm trying to root that stuff out of my life. Does it always work? Gosh, no. But I'm really, really working on it. Real quick, last thing I want to say. This is Varanasi. This is a city that's like 4,000 years old. They'll tell you that it's the oldest city in the world. They say a lot of things. It's one of the oldest cities in the world. These are all Hindu temples. These temples haven't been here for 4,000 years, but there's probably been a temple dedicated to whatever God is over there for 4,000 years. Okay, does that make sense? There's an old city. It's been destroyed a whole bunch. It got destroyed like 500 years ago by the Turks. But these temples are, 500, 600 years old, and there have been temples on that ground dedicated to whatever God, and they've been doing the same types of rituals and things like that for 4,000 years. This is the Ganges River. Keep going a little bit, Warren. I know we're about to leave, but keep going. Keep going. There's just tourists. I want to see. Okay, there's people just washing themselves in this water. I don't know if you guys know this, but Muslims believe that if you go to Mecca, that you automatically basically get to go to heaven. These people who are washing themselves in this river, in the Ganges River, believe that by washing themselves in this water, that their sins are going to be cleansed, basically, and that they'll go to like this really high level of nirvana thing. I don't know. Hinduism's really complicated. There's no like set there's not like a Hindu Bible or anything, so they all believe different things. But these people are trying to wash their sins away. They're trying to do works, basically, as you guys know, and it just was a really, really intense, dark experience. If you can see that smoke, they're burning bodies. And so, like, all over the city, whenever they do this, you can just smell, like, this really weird fire smell. And it's because they're cremating people and dumping their ashes in the river because they think that is what is going to get them into heaven, guys. This whole country does stuff like that all the time. And we look at it, and we're like, oh, man, that's so dumb. Why would you think that, burning bodies or washing yourselves in the river is going to make you pure? But I think we do that a lot of times with the Lord when we're like, oh, yeah, well, I know that, if I do these things, then I'm going to be better, then I'm going to, God is going to like me more. We don't live under grace, and these people do not know how to live under grace. They literally have been told that they have to do things to get God or whatever their version of God is to like them, and they spend their entire lives doing that. What I just want to encourage you guys is we have the gospel of Christ, and what the gospel of Christ says, there's burning bodies, is that we couldn't do anything, but Christ did everything for us. And when we begin to understand that, it changes our whole life. That was the cool thing, and kind of summing everything about India. I've been a Christian for a long time, but I begin to see the gospel in a much more deeper way than I ever had whenever I was there. I began to see not only that the gospel had the power to save my life, to save me from hell, but it also had the power to help me live the way the Lord would call me to live in Lubbock, Texas. And whenever we begin to understand that, whenever we begin to try to start doing that in our own lives, you'll be really, really amazed at what happens. Love you guys. Y'all go to class.